Welcome, everybody. Uh, I am Mira Rubin, and this is the Sustainability Hour with Mira and Maggie. Um, Maggie is not here today, and that's because I am broadcasting from a remote location. In fact, today's hour is only going to be a half hour because I have an appointment obligation that I have to get to. However, I have a treat for you today. We'll just jump right in, and we're going to watch the movie Story of Stuff. It's one of the most enlightening short films that I have seen to be identifying the source of our consumerism. And I think you'll find it really, really, really interesting. So hopefully I will be able to figure out how to share my screen, and then we should have some time for some comments at the end. So let me just see if I can figure this out here. This is my first time going right from Restream. We've had some challenges with Zoom and Restream. So let's see if this works. I'm going to try and share my screen here. And hopefully you'll be able to hear the movie that I play. And let's see. So we're going to share here. Let's see if this works. That would be wonderful if it does. It says unable to share the screen. I have to update my system permissions somehow. Okay. And apparently I'm not going to be able to do this. That's really unfortunate. So I apologize for that. I guess you'll just have to have me today. So I can turn you on to the website where you can watch some of these wonderful videos. Maybe I will be able to share them with you next week. Hopefully we'll get some of the glitches worked out. But the website is actually called The Story of Stuff. And hold on, I'll see if it's a .com or something else. We'll find it in a second. And thestoryofstuff.org, O-R-G. And there are wonderful, wonderful animated videos there talking about the story of plastic, the story of stuff, and how we have actually been manufactured as consumers, that we've been kind of brainwashed into being consumers. So hi, Robert. So good to have you here. I apologize for the tease about being able to see the story of stuff. It's like 20 minutes or so long. It's a great video, and hopefully next week we'll be able to share it. But I found it very fascinating to recognize that we have been conditioned to be consumers. So if you notice all the advertising everywhere on mainstream media, TV, on YouTube, on social media, on Facebook, on radio, wherever we turn, we're confronted by marketing messages that are targeting us as a commodity, essentially. And this gives us an opportunity in this conversation to be looking at our data and how our data is tracked, and then how we are targeted with marketing messages. You might wonder what this has to do with sustainability, but one big portion of creating a future that is sustainable means not consuming so much. We have so much manufactured need where, in fact, we're taught we want the newest and the best, and we want to have a shiny new car, and we want to have the new season's fashions, and we want to be in style, and we want, and we want, and we want. And we're taught to want by all these advertisements that show us that if we have this expensive perfume or this special watch or any number of these other kinds of things, that our lives will be happier, that we will be more fulfilled, that we will be more worthy. And I think what really lies at the root of sustainability and our potential for a future that is thriving is to reassess and redefine our values, and to really stop and look at all this messaging and to question it rather than to just be absorbing it, and to rather than just consuming the messaging, to be more circumspect about it, to recognize it, to identify it, to see how we are being corralled into different ways of thinking. And this has everything to do with not just consumer goods, but it has to do with the information that we consume in general. And even if you think about the programming in movies and on television and on these other entertainment platforms, have you ever just wondered about the violence that is so prevalent in so much of this programming? So, Robert, I'm wondering where you stand on this. I know that we've spoken about consumer behavior before, and really through COVID, interestingly, becoming more aware of our need for a lot less than we may be used to be consuming unconsciously. I think that one of the mechanisms of this manufactured consumerism is a notion of the fear of missing out. You know, it's like, oh, the new phone is out. I've got to get the new phone because it's got all these great features. It's got all kinds of good stuff happening in there, and I need to have the best and the most current, because that means that I'm better somehow, and it'll fill a vacuum somehow for me, right? I suspect that a number of us who are part of the enlightened network community are maybe less prey to some of that marketing, I hope, but it reaches into every area of our lives. Robert says, yes, I agree. We have been taught to consume whether or not we need that particular object or not. Exactly. You know, we've been taught that things are going to make us happy. And that is such a deeply insidious message, because it means that we don't have the resourcefulness or the resources within ourselves, that we are not worthy in and of ourselves, that our worthiness is dictated by externals, like the things that we own or the things that we accomplish. Good. Hi, Rosalind. So good to have you joining us, and welcome to everybody else who's here and checking it out and having these conversations together. I think they're really important conversations. Rosalind says, lately, My TV is Enlightened World Network, so currently not exposed to commercials, but it annoys me when I talk about buying something and an ad magically appears in my social media, even when I never Googled it before. That's a little more than creepy, don't you think, Rosalind? Where we're being surveilled, right? We're being listened to, we're being tracked and observed, and then based on conversations or interactions that we've had, even that are not online, at least we're not consciously aware of having made a search. Maybe we spoke something and Siri overheard us, or Alexa overheard us, or it's pretty crazy stuff. Robert says, I'm somehow trying to return to simplicity. If one object is useful, I take it. If it doesn't serve my needs, I don't. I'm with you there. I'm totally with you there. I've noticed that my habits are very different than they used to be. I used to do be prey, as with so many other people, to retail therapy. You know, if I feel bad, go out and buy something. That'll make me feel better. And that is no longer the case. So thankfully, that's no longer the case. The other thing is that old stuff used to be old. You know, why would you want old stuff? But I have found such joy in going to thrift stores and finding, trading things and finding new to you kinds of things, or new to me kinds of things that aren't adding to the burden of production in the world, right? Like recycling things, wearing things out, you know, thinking many times before replacing something. You know, does it need replacing, or, you know, what's the compulsion to replace something, and is it necessary? And so I think what we're talking about is a greater mindfulness, but also a greater recognition of the kinds of messages that are dominating our culture and that are really counterproductive to our survival. Really, it comes down to something that extreme. It really is about our survival collectively, you know. So we get so busy doing, and then we have very little time, and then we reach to find a food that is a prepackaged, pre-prepared food, perhaps because it's a time saver. And what is behind that is that there's massive amounts of waste that went into producing that prepared food, for one thing. Plus there's all kinds of likely chemicals in there. Plus there's packaging that that needs to be disposed of. And so this whole the whole emphasis on doing, rushing, more is something that leads us directly into things like convenience food. Even the name convenience food or snacks, you know, so many of these preparations have single-use plastic that's very much a part of it. And then we just tear it up, put it in the microwave, maybe. I don't know, in a microwave anymore, or heat something up and then throw away the trash, but there is no way to throw it to. So, you know, it's really interesting to see how acclimated we are, and how really integrated all these different aspects of the fast pace of life and the priorities. Like work is more important than our quality of life, right? So we're going to work, and then grab something to eat, right? I'm going to grab lunch on the run, for example. And what does that promote? It promotes unhealthy food and unhealthy practices, right? So Robert says, sometimes old is better than new. In fact, a lot of times old is better than new. Things were made to last. And that's another thing that's a big part of our culture right now, is that things are made to have a forced obsolescence, to break. Things are made to break so that they need to be replaced, so that there can be continual growth and continual manufacture of more and more and more. And wouldn't it be lovely? I mean, what we need to do is to return to quality and production that is made to last, and shift our whole focus into what a more circular economy, where the very design of something from its inception incorporates what happens to it as it is no longer usable. Perhaps there are going to be more replaceable parts, rather than getting a ding, for instance, or a dent on your bumper on your car, and then having to replace the whole front end of the car, for example. The way that we will be manufacturing things needs to shift into replaceable components. So back to what Robert was saying, I remember the old button mobile phones. If you dropped it, it would break the floor tiles with no damage to the phone. If you drop a new smartphone, you need to buy a new one. Well, I am very grateful, actually. I don't have the newest phone. I used to be an early adopter for technology, and now I realize, the cost of recycling all these things, the cost to our ecology, not just financially, but electronics are one of the biggest environmental offenders. And so I have an iPhone 6, and I have gone through multiple cases and multiple screen covers on the phone, but I have dropped it a multitude of times, and knock on wood, it still hasn't broken. So, there again, the cases are protective coverings. They're also disposable, quote unquote. They're not really disposable. They're plastic. They're, and they break down. And that's one more thing to look at. If we just start paying attention to more of our habits, just the act of attention alone will make us change our habits. As we think about even washing clothes, I used to wear something once and then wash it. And it's really important to recognize that lots and lots of our clothes are made of synthetic materials. And when we wash the clothes, what happens is that microplastics shed off of a lot of these synthetic clothing materials. And as a result, the more we wash them, the more we're contributing to pollution on a kind of dangerous level. Sorry about that. I didn't turn off the sound on my phone. So, do we really need to wash clothes after wearing them once? I mean, we can do the smell test, right? And decide, is this piece of clothing actually soiled? Does it smell? Do we need to wash it every time we wear it? And this is a change from what we've been encultured to accept as standard practice, right? Another I'm thinking about fabric softeners and this notion about everything being antiseptic. All these cleaning supplies that we're taught that we're living in a dangerous environment filled with germs, and we have to disinfect everything everywhere. And so we're spreading these chemicals into our air, spraying the air with air freshener that is chemical stuff that we breathe in, and that can have neurological effects even. It's nuts. So Rosalind says, harvest.co promotes local food production delivery to your door. It was developed by a university student in my area. It's a brilliant concept, and there are more and more organizations, fortunately, that are taking food that doesn't necessarily meet the standard of beauty for grocery stores. This is another thing we get to look at. What has happened is that our industry has tried to make food a manufactured commodity rather than a living source of life, and therefore fruits and vegetables need to meet a certain size and a certain shape in order to be saleable. And as consumers, we've been acclimated to pick the pretty food. And so there are more organizations popping up that are taking this food that wasn't meeting the standards of the cosmetically beautiful food for the grocery stores, and packaging it and making it available for delivery, often at a lesser price, which is it's a wonderful thing. And I'm thrilled to see these kinds of things sprouting up all over the place. And Rosalind says, I try to support local farmers as much as possible, like locally produced eggs, honey, and produce. The veggies last longer than store-bought and are better quality. They last longer than store-bought because you're getting them from the farm. The things that we have in the stores have been, probably so many of them have been carted across the country before they even make it to the store. So their shelf life is going to be much degraded. So it's interesting to be thinking about zero waste. I was making dinner with a family member a little while ago, and they were making salad out of romaine lettuce, and they cut off the whole top of the lettuce and we're trying to throw it away. And I was like, no, don't throw that away. I'm going to save it for salad later. They were like, I don't eat that part. It's too whatever. So I think that we get to re-educate ourselves on all kinds of levels when we think about this consumer behavior. And food waste is the number 3 cause of CO2 emissions. Are you aware of that? I am in the process of editing the interview that we're going to be airing tomorrow night on Sustainability Now. I have a podcast with my business partner, Scott Billy, called Sustainability Now. Our website is sustainabilitynow.global, and you can find our interviews on wherever you find a podcast, but also on our website. And I am our guest tomorrow night for our movie night. Every Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, we have a movie night where we air our interviews or we air movies, and oftentimes have somebody there live from the movie, and usually the people that we interview there for live Q&A. And so the interview for tomorrow is with this gentleman named Mike Cox, who has developed a biofermentation process to convert food waste or biomass to fertilizer with a byproduct of hydrogen. And if you're interested in joining us, please do. You can go to our website at sustainabilitynow.global and register for the movie night. And if you want to go before late afternoon tomorrow Eastern time to register so that you get a reminder email. Anyway, 40% of the food that is received by these massive food production companies goes to waste because it's either not pretty or it doesn't fit in the box. They hack off the top and the bottom of the lettuce, and the top and the bottom of the lettuce goes to waste, and the box gets filled with a perfectly sized head of lettuce, for example. Rosalind says, less waste. Yes, they repurpose the packaging. You save the box and give them back the empty box when they deliver your next order. Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. And thank you, Dido, for the link. So I told you up front, I need to cut it short today. Those of you who know me know that I am graced to have a mom who is 90 years old, and she just had to stay in the hospital and rehab, and I'm taking her to a doctor's appointment for a checkup. So I am going to say thank you for being here and joining me in this conversation. Next week, hopefully we'll get things sorted out so that I can show you a movie. And it's always a pleasure to be here with you. And I thank you guys for showing up and joining me. Robert says, we used to have a milkman. Exactly. We used to have a milkman bringing us milk. And then when they'd come the next time, they'd collect the old bottles. And we had deposits on bottles too that we would return. And then they would get cleaned and refilled. And this is really what we need to go back to. Rosalind, thank you for missing for mentioning this show this morning. I was having the same challenges, but I didn't know how to navigate them. Zoom wasn't playing well with Restream, and I didn't know how to counter that. So even if we don't get the Restream thing figured out or the Zoom integration, I will see you tomorrow morning. And I missed being with you too. I put a note there in the chat. But anyway, thank you, Dido. Thank you. And so much love to you guys. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow, hopefully, on Core Connection, and maybe even tomorrow evening at the Sustainability Now movie night. It would be great to have you there. And we will resume Sustainability Hour with Maggie in tow, hopefully, next week. So much love to you guys. Take care.